Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I was told we have about 150, 130 people coming online. While waiting for them, let me just ask one quick question. If you could just start putting this answer on the chat box. How many of you in this past week successfully managed to get a loaf of gardenia bread? Press 1 if you successfully got it. Press 2 if you didn't successfully get it. Please put that in the chat box right now. There you go. All right. So it's about 50-50. Some of you got the gardenia bread, some of you didn't get the gardenia bread. Someone was telling me, my wife was sharing this with me, and said there's a new definition of what it means by being a breadwinner. It is that the person that managed to get the gardenia bread, he is now the breadwinner. There you go. My name is Jonathan. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Reapfield. My company runs a real estate company that houses about 733 real estate agents in Malaysia. We have been in the business for 36 years. My role is pretty much overlook the whole entire group. Our revenues has been about 40 to 50 million ringgit per year. Last year, we entered into the agreement with Keller Williams in the US. If you have Keller Williams, they're the largest real estate network group in the entire world with 180,000 agents. So right now, a lot of the things, a lot of the trainings, a lot of the materials that we are working on are really fundamentally based on Keller Williams' system and structure. Now, quick question here. Now, on the chat box here, if you are a self-employed business owner, please press 1. If you are a wage earner or you are a person that is working for someone you are employed, press 2. Let me just try to gauge what we have here right now on this group. Some of you are 1 and 2. All right. Awesome. Great. Now, in the chat box, let me know what is your number 1 emotions or thoughts right now that you have about what's happening and what's going on right now. In 1 word, write it down in the chat box right now. Uncertainty, absolutely. Challenging, pivot, opportunity, stop, restless. Anyone else? Unsure, uncertainty, flexible, crisis, hopefulness, adjusting, very satisfied, uncertainty. A lot of you put uncertainty. Now, I think it's important for us today. My goal is to try to be as best as I can to kind of give you an overview and idea what's happening. And if you understand what's happening,
Hi, everybody. I think Jonathan had a small hiccup with his internet. So let's just give him a minute as he connects back.
okay, sorry guys, can you all see me now? Okay, I hope it was not the artwork that disconnected me from Zoom, but what I'm trying to share with you right now, this is basically what has been happening, right? And at a point in time, there is a shift. Now, what's going on here is there is an expectation of growth, right? This is an expectation of growth. And at one point in time when there is a shift, what was the cause of shift? There are many things going on right now. The bigger one that overarching the entire world, of course, we have COVID-19. What else? Locally, we have something called political instability. There's a political issue, right, that's going on that we have not even talked about that yet. Then we have the trade war, right? And then we've got potential negative growth or slowing growth in some countries. whenever there is a certain event that causes certain things to happen, that's when a shift happens. So in 2009, global financial crisis, what happens? The Lehman Brothers collapse. Why did it collapse? Because there was a subprime crisis. What is a subprime crisis? Banks were giving loan to people who can't afford to pay very high interest rates in the US to buy homes. The interest rates at that point of time was 18, 17, 19, 21%, 24%, right? So that was what's happening in the US. When you cannot afford to buy a home in the US in 2009, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac will loan you and they will give it to you at 18% per annum. That happens, people couldn't afford to pay, boom, you have that global financial crisis. But what's different in today's crisis right now? What is different right now, it is a global thing. It is happening all over the world. What's happening all over the world? There is a stop. Why? Because we are fighting this virus. So what is happening right now in a shift? This is the time that we are already in right now. We are waiting for this to happen, right? But this is the time that everybody is trying to survive. This is survival here right now. I've got news for you guys, and this is the reality that you have to expect, and this is how I'm planning my business. I'm planning my team right now. The minute MCO is open, life is never going to be the same again in our business. It is not going to go back to the normal thing that we were thought it was going back 2 months, 3 months ago. It's not going to be the same anymore. A lot of things have changed because the market has shifted, right? And now everyone is in survival mode. We are hoping that this will happen, but this won't happen so fast because there's so many issues not dealt with here right now. Does that make sense so far? If you understand type 1, so that I know that you're following what I'm trying to say. There you go. Thank you very much. So what's happening here, this is what we call a downshift. And what we are waiting for is an upshift. But before this could happen, we got to figure out how we're going to survive this. Does that make sense so far? Because this is survival mode. And you cannot, there is a sequence to this. You cannot have this, you cannot have this without this. I repeat, you cannot have an upshift without a downshift. And we are going through a very sharp downshift here right now. Now, how long is this going to be? I don't know. How far down is going to be? I don't know. But I know something is going to happen here. There will be lesser transactions. There will be lesser volume of business. Janet Yellen, the former Federal Reserve Chief, made a statement. He said that they're expecting 30% negative GDP growth in the US in the next quarter. There is a 13% unemployment rate that's looking to happen in the US. Why I'm looking at the US? Because they are the majority consumers globally. So that's happening right now. I'm just bringing this all out in this perspective so that you can understand where are we right now. Any questions so far? Any questions? Eugene, got any question for me? If there's no question right now, the one thing that you need to understand, how then you move forward from here. Now, you need to understand that things will not be the same. This is not a new normal. In fact, when there is a downshift that is this sharp, what is potentially happening is a major reset. That's right, guys. There is a reset button that's being pushed. What does that reset mean? Meaning, right now, because of this situation, and I foresee MCO being extended potentially to May, potentially, and I foresee the next 3 to 6 months, potentially, the order for social distancing is going to happen, meaning there are certain things that we cannot do the way we were doing last time. For example, gatherings of mass people may not be possible, potentially, for a certain period of time. Right? So whatever business that you are doing right now, you have to think about how do we reset how we behave and how we do our business as we move forward from here. So it's a major reset. The consumer right now is shifting to the market. They're shifting their behavior by going online. How many of you bought something online recently in this room? If you have, press 1, please. Okay, let me ask a fun question. How many of you bought seafood and meat online? Press 1. There you go. So you just shifted your behavior because of circumstances. And guess what? When the market shifts next time, would that behavior change back to the old? Something to ask about, something for you to think about. So that's what it means by a reset, right? So basically, if all our business have no elements of being able to proceed virtually, likely we are in a challenging position. Now, some business may not be, if you're construction, if you are a contractor and all that, that's probably pretty much okay, but you probably have a slow volume and a lower volume of business. But generally, a lot of people who are in product business, in services and all that, you may need to look at how can you then add value virtually to your customer, because you are going to see some challenges here. Second thing to think about, if you are working for a company right now, you're working for someone right now, it is imperative for you to understand this principle. The survival of the company is the responsibility of everyone in the company. The survival of the company, it is not the responsibility of the boss. It is the responsibility of everyone in the company. I was in Dallas, Texas 3 months ago, and I was in our KW family reunion. I was in this private coaching group with Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams. So he wrote this brilliant book called The One Thing. So I had 11 hours of time to spend with him in a group of 100 leaders in a small room. And the one principle he taught us is called the profit principle. And in this profit principle, he said that the myth is that profits of a company or survival of a company is not the sole responsibility of the owner. The survival of the company and the profitability of the company is everyone's responsibility. So you've got to change that mindset. You've got to shift that mindset and ask this question when you go back to your company, or even when you're working right now, what is the value are you bringing to the marketplace to your company so that they can bring value to the marketplace in exchange for revenue and profit? You've got to start thinking like that. And the truth of the matter is that 90% of businesses who are SME are going through a very tough time. That includes my business. I am part of the SME business, SME community. How many of you are SMEs here? If you are type SME, there you go. A lot of you are in SME right now. It is probably the toughest place. And it's also the place where the majority of the workforce is at right now. So if you are working for an SME right now or any other company, your role is to figure out what value you can bring to the company so that you guys can survive this and eventually help yourself to be an upshift. This is very critical here. Responsibility has to be very clear. It is all our responsibility. I'm going to share a quick story here that I'm very proud of about my team. When 2 days before the announcement of the MCO, we were discussing, I think we got to go virtual already. We had a conversation, we discussed, we did an announcement to the whole company saying that we potentially will be going virtual and be potentially slowing down the work from home. Then our Prime Minister announced the MCO one day. In that one day, we had Wednesday, I think a breather of one day on the 17th of March to make arrangements of moving everything back to virtually. We had 3 hours for us to figure out how to announce this, how to organize this, how to set up a virtual training calendar for all our agents so that we stay connected. What is the SOP, who does what does what. I even have colleagues and team members in my team decided to move their whole PC and computer into the trunk of the car and bring it home so that they can function virtually. And that's when everyone it's together in this. That's the environment, that's the perspective that if you're working for someone in an SME or in a company, you've got to think like that right now, because we are all in it together. If the SME fails, the jobs are gone. If the company fails, the jobs are gone. Because what's happening right after MCO, this is the next chart. What you're going to see right now, I suspect, potentially, is whatever business you're doing right now, maybe during the good times, your market share is 20%. Slowing down, maybe 33%. After MCO, there's only 50, this is the same, the volume of business has reduced. In order for you to stay ahead, you have to win the market of 50% of this small volume. Before the business was very good, you only need 20% to survive. Can you see that? That you will have a shift that you'll be losing market share. So the first battle in whatever you're doing, whether you're working for a company or you're running a company, is how to fight and win market share. Because in this situation and this season, the reality is this: some will not make it. That's the reality. I have 733 agents. We sit down and we talk to them. Some of us will not make it. If you are an employer right now, it is important for you to have this conversation with your own team members right now. I remember the last speech I had when I met them face to face, just 3 hours before I make the announcement that we are going virtual. I told them this: we will never be the same again. We are going to be in the fight for our lives, for our company, because the reality is the first thing is to fight for market share. And a lot of adjustments is going to happen. We may need to adjust salaries. We may need to adjust financial things that we are doing. We need to cut a lot of costs, right? So these are some of the things that you need to be very aware. Whether you're working for someone or you're having a company, this is the game plan. The one thing that you shouldn't do is to sit back and wait for the upshift to happen. Because before the upshift happens, the survival, you are not surviving already. So sitting down and not doing anything right now, it's not going to work for you. I appeal to everyone here today. If you're working for someone or you're owning your business, do not sit back and do nothing. Figure out how to reinvent yourself. Figure out and think about how can you survive this. The one thing you must first change. Now I'm reading from this book, some of this, Gary Keller wrote a book called Shift. Now some of these perspective and principles I'm taking from this book, Shift. Now, it is written really for the real estate business, but I think some of the principles there does apply. If you want to get it, you can just go to Kobo and download online or Amazon or whatever. But it's really about, this book is focused on real estate business, but I think the 12 tactics that they talk about in Shift, it's very critical and very, very relevant to all our business. The first tactic is your mind shift. If you want to change the outcome that you want to see, first change your mind, shift your mind, in order to shift your action. Then potentially you can shift your results. So shift your mind. Go into the mindset. What is the mindset that you need to have in order for you to sustain this business? Now, I want to share this thing that my coach shared with me yesterday in our coaching call. I have 3 coaches right now. Locally, I have a coach called Dr. Lim Ka Hui. He's coaching me in my business. And one of the things that he shared with me is this: you don't fight uncertainty with certainty, but you fight it with clarity. If someone can help me tap on the chat box, this is very powerful. You don't fight uncertainty with certainty, but you fight it with clarity. Now you think about it right now. How do you find clarity moving forward? Then you ask yourself 3 questions. There are 3 questions here. First question, what matters now? What is necessary now? What must you do now? The second question is, what matters later? After MCO, what matters now? The third question is, what will I do right now? And the first thing that you need to reevaluate, if you are in business or for yourself, the one thing that you can do right now is to start cutting expenses. One thing. I sat down with my finance team 2 weeks ago. We decided to cut expenses. All the bosses cut. My income, 45% cut. So my founders, 80% cut. There is going to be expenses that we have to cut. Certain things that we have to say no. We are even working so drastically in cutting expenses that we are thinking of one of our offices, maybe we just shut it down and then we all work from home. Because right now, working from home is fun. Why? Because I'm double time working. I basically disrupted my mother-in-law's lifestyle. She's 91 years old. She watches Hokkien dramas every day. So every working day right now from 9 to 5, I'm actually in my living hall because the connection of internet is here. I've got all my cameras here for me to do my work, my conference call, but it's working right now. So I may not need a space in my office right now, right? That's how drastic I'm thinking about our business. What matters now and what matters later. So one thing you can do right now, cut expense. You must look at cutting expense. Work on it right now, work with your finance team, work as a team. How do you cut expense? Right? From salaries, or perhaps from cost of expenses, certain marketing, like one of the things that we did, all marketing budget cut for the next 3 months. No more marketing. We go prospecting driven. We are not marketing driven anymore. We are going prospecting. Means we're going to go to the market and get business. So that's the things that you need to be thinking about right now because we are all in survival mode. Now, if we don't have that perspective that this is survival for us right now, dangerous times for us, very dangerous times. Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment because I think I've spoken a lot. Is there any questions or any ahas that you're getting right now? If you have right now, I encourage you to put it in the chat box right now. Any ahas or any questions that you have, put it in the chat box right now so that some of us who have just joined us, they might missed out some of the points that I'm saying, or maybe some of the things that really resonates with you right now. If you share in the box right now, it could bring value to some of us right now. So anyone, can you please put some ahas or questions on the chat box right now? Anyone? Wow. Hang on, am I hang or? Things will never be the same. In the marketing line, do you cut all expense? Okay, let me try to answer one by one. Well, good aha, things will never be the same and we need to adapt to survive. Absolutely. In the marketing line, do you cut all expenses? Can I clarify, Noel, what do you mean in the marketing line? Maybe you want to clarify for me? Sigmay asked a question, how do you work on cutting processes which reduce expenses, any methodology? So very simple. First of all, I look at my top line. In terms of my expense, what's my OPEX every single month for the next 6 months? And I say, I need to, and what's my gap of revenue? Now I'm expecting for my company, for example, now your company and my company can be very different, right? So my company, I know in the next 1-2 months, because nobody is going out to show houses and sell houses and buy houses, right? So I'm expecting an 80% drop in revenue. Now, if there is a drop in revenue, what's the drop of revenue, gross profit versus expense? I look at that gap. Maybe the gap is, let's just say, for example, one of my companies is 100,000 and my expenses right now is about 80,000, right? So I need to drop maybe 35% to make sure that I cushion that gap. So you've got to know your finances very, very well. Where is the gap in terms of revenue that's coming in and the cash flow potentially? What's your cash flow that will last for the next 3 to 6 months? Because we are looking at a major surviving shift for a minimum of 6 months. The best outcome that we can have here right now is that it will finish by 6 months. Okay, hopefully, right? I hope I answered your question. What are the opportunities that you can see in the kind of situation? The opportunities here is this. If you can reinvent yourself and figure out a way to win market share, that's the opportunity. Right now in the real estate business, I think 3 weeks ago, we were declared as the #1 training consulting company for real estate virtually done in Malaysia. That's the opportunity. I had 500 over agents from other companies in my training. Now we are willing to add value at teaching them. Guess how many of them joined me? 41 of them joined me last month. During a lockdown, I recruited 41 agents. 14 of them were high producing agents. They joined me because I was creating value. My business is if I can recruit more agents into my business, That's how I increase my value. So that's my opportunity to find a gap where there is a need, there's a pain point. If you can address that pain point and the need, you have that opportunity right now. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Janice. Aha for the moment, yes, not sitting back and waiting for it to happen. Offline, online, or perhaps can you elaborate what kind of market activities you have cut? Okay, so right now, all my digital campaign and all that, it's going to be organic. It's not going to be where I'm not going to boost or I'm not going to put in, example, I'm not going to put in money to advertise or to gain market share in terms of viewers in. I'm going to go very organic. I'm going to be very purposeful. Moving from purpose E to P, from entrepreneurship to purposeful. If I want to have target audience of this number of agents, I want my people, my leadership team to go out there, prospect and get them on board. So I'm going through the prospecting mode rather than the marketing mode. There's two different things, right? Marketing is when you pull people to come to you. Prospecting when you bring the opportunity to them. So we are doing a lot where we are bringing the opportunity to people. And the same thing I'm coaching my agents right now. Be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Right? So that's the strategy right now. Because if you do marketing right now, it's very noisy, it's very loud. You cannot hit the right audience. Our goal when we do lead generation, when we do marketing, is to find the motivated buyers, find the motivated sellers. So in whatever business you are in right now, figure out where is the motivated buyers, where is the motivated sellers, or where is the motivated business that you have right now. Figure that out. You've got to sit down with your team and start thinking through, right? And you'll be very surprised. If you put a lot of effort doing this right now, a lot of competitors, a lot of people, what are they doing? They are waiting for something to happen. I'm not. I'm making something happen. And that's how you need to survive right now. Right? I hope it makes sense to all of you. Upskill ourselves to be relevant. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like I've got my finance people right now. When we are running virtual training like this, at the back end, my finance head is the bouncer. She has to make sure everyone goes in the chat room. That is the right person. I'll give you an example, right? So even finance people are doing different things already. Potentially what you will see is your roles will be reinvented. You'll be doing different things, and that is necessary, and that's a good thing. There's a famous guy called Jim Rohn. I have a privilege of meeting him in 2005, long time ago, the late Jim Rohn. He said this one thing that changed the entire way I think about my life and about my business. He said this, he said, you are paid by bringing value to the marketplace. Right now, whoever is interested to help the company survive is bringing value to the marketplace. That's it. It's that simple. And then you've got to think through what you need to do. You have to work double time hours. You have to work more times. You have to potentially, some of us may take a pay cut, but in order for survival, we have to help out in the way we can. Potentially, we have to do more things. We have to do 3 roles instead of 1 role, potentially. And we might recreate ourselves, but recreate certain systems and processes so that it will help us to be more efficient and effective. So some of these things are going to happen. Right? Upskills yourself, absolutely. Like if you go back to your office right now and you don't know how to do Zoom, you'll be in trouble, right? As an example, right? So Zoom is part of our lives really. Get used to it. All of us got this problem. There's a lot of complaints. There's a lot of these things going on about how security is for Zoom and all that. But really much, let me tell you, everyone in the world is using Zoom right now. And if you don't know how to use Zoom, you don't do a presentation, you don't know how to do virtual training like this, right? You will probably be in a challenging moment to ask, are you bringing value to the marketplace? There are a lot of things that you are not comfortable doing, you will end up having to do right now, potentially, right? For this moment, it's just a moment that you need to work on. What is your strategy in mind to recruit after MCO? Are you talking about recruit staff or recruit agents, Samantha?
John, I think there are 2 people asking similar questions. Since you're talking about cutting marketing expenses, so what happens to the marketing people?
They are still doing their work. They're still doing work, but we don't spend money in advertising stuff. We spend money doing internal communication, because one of the things that I have to do communication a lot is internally and creating database, EDM related database for our customers. So for example, my whole marketing team right now is doing a lot of design and database, EDMs so that they can prospect and sell out to all their customers. The channels, I'm not spending money on the channels. I'm spending money, I'm still paying the salary to the staff, but we are changing our strategy. We are using our network of 700 people to reach out. And then we get them to be purposeful about reaching out to the right target audience. So we teach them how to be purposeful about lead generation, for example. How do you lead generate with purpose? Find a motivated seller, for example. Find a motivated buyer, for example. The old way of selling won't work. If you look at, I'll give you an example. If you go to Facebook right now and you look at how people sell seafood, have you seen those seafood things before? Hey, do you think they sell more than the guys in the pasar? I think they do. I think they do. Why? Because they brought the opportunity to the people. You see what I'm trying to say? They are very proactive. They create audience. See, even the guy who's selling seafood in Sekinchan is learning how to create audience, how to create followers, how to create environment for people to buy at the comfort of their homes. And that is something we have to think about. And those don't cost much money. Right? Those don't cost much money. It goes straight to the market. And my marketing team is doing multiple things right now. They are helping me to run virtual training programs. They are bouncers as well in the virtual training programs. They're helping me helping me to curate all these conversations, helping me to do a lot of other things. Some of them are helping me to do something called career visioning. Perhaps having conversation with agents to help them to see where they are right now. So everyone is doing double time. Everyone is doing multiple roles. The organization that I'm running right now is what I'm using a flat organization. There is no hierarchy. Everyone is equal. It's just that people are responsible for certain tasks, but it's very flat. It is very flat. I empower everyone to take action and do whatever is necessary that will help us to survive. So that's the old hierarchy way of doing things in management for me has changed. It's now flat because I don't think some of this is relevant for my style of leadership, right? So I make that flat. Does that answer the question, I hope? Is there any other question?
Yeah, I think, John, maybe I just borrow Melvin's question and I rephrase it a little bit to cater for a larger crowd. I think for many of our people here, many of them are employees or either starting out at work or looking for a job. I think my question would be, at your senior management level, what are the qualities of staff you're looking at in this season?
Number one, I want that staff to be learning-based. Number two, I want them to be able to understand what it means by taking ownership and taking responsibility to do certain things with their own initiative. You've got to inspire me and show me your creativity. I give you a responsibility, you figure it out, you show me creativity. You come to me for coaching. It's fine. I will coach you. You will start, you come to me for coaching. But don't wait to be told what to do. That's not going to work anymore. We don't have that luxury right now. We don't have the luxury to do this right now. I see some of you nodding your head. Probably you're in senior management, you're nodding your head. We don't have the luxury of teaching you to do all these simple things. We will coach you. We will help you. I would like to have conversations where, hey, where are you struggling? What's the thing that you cannot do, what you can do? But if you come to me and say, I don't know how to do all these things, how? That's going to be a problem for us. That's going to be a problem for the SMEs because we have so much things to work on. We need you to be very self-motivated and very learning-based. You got to do some research to figure out how to do this. I gave my team, this technical guy, I gave him 3 hours. For the first time in our whole company history, we have never done a live Zoom call to all the agents on our platform called Workplace. Workplace is a platform powered by Facebook. It's exactly like a Facebook Live, but we call it Workplace Live. To link our cameras, to link all this. We have never done that before. I say, guys, I give you 3 hours. You go figure it out. By 3 hours time, when I come back, I need to be talking to all 700 people live to make this announcement. They had 3 hours and they figured it out. Guess what happened? 2.5 hours later, we are ready. So I need people to do that. Right? That's probably what that's the kind of quality that I'm looking for. And the guy that is doing the part of this team that's doing this, they are not 100% in technical area of technology. There were some volunteers from other team came in to help to make sure that this happened. So maybe the second thing is do not be siloed. Do not think that this is what I do, this is that one thing I do. Like, got to figure out this is the whole entire team. Our goal is to make sure that we do this live stream. Our goal is that we can get this message out. I will do whatever it takes that I can help to get this done. And that's really what we call a flat organization. That's the kind of quality that I'm looking at if I were to hire. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. But there is another question coming from this line where they ask, what advice would you give for those who are currently looking for a job?
Keep looking. I tell you a story. When I came back from the US in 2004, I was pursuing my career in music. I wanted to be a professional violinist. Okay, don't ask me that question. That could be a different conversation. It's a different story. But I wanted to be a professional violinist. But I couldn't complete the degree, so I had to come back. And I was in debt because we took a debt to finance some of my wife's education. I think about 130,000 debt or something like that. In 2004, I was 23 years old. I had no qualification. The only qualification I had was 1A in English and 1 credit in Bahasa Melayu and 1 credit in geography. So I read maps, I spoke English. That's why I went to do real estate. Now, the story is this. When I first came back that one day, the first thing I know, my goal is to get a job that will pay me whatever income I can get. You set that goal and you go look for the job. And you go and tell everyone that you're going to be interviewed, I'm willing to do anything that I can to secure my job. Tell me what I'm to do. Tell me how can I add value right now to your business. I'm interested to do that. Now, if you come with that attitude, all right, that attitude comes first. If I'm hiring, I hire attitude first. Then I look at skills. Your skills can be learned. Skills can be taught. You can research. If you desperately want to keep this job, you desperately want to look for a job, that's your mindset. And prepare and manage your expectation. It's not going to be the best paying job in town. Right now, find a platform that you can add value and showcase yourself. This is my advice for you right now. This is my advice for you right now. There's so many questions here. Something about cutting costs. Melvin has this question. Besides cutting costs in our personal expense, what other advices could you offer us salaried employees as how we are able to go through this phase in life? You've got to delay a lot of stuff that's going to cost you money. You've got to change your entire lifestyle. There are certain conversations that I think you will hear some of this conversation in next week's session with David and Serene, how they changed their lifestyle during crisis. Stop drinking Starbucks. I stopped drinking Starbucks 2 weeks ago. I had to say farewell to Starbucks. And hello to this new coffee called Essential. I'm doing it myself. I had a conversation with my son the other day. We are not going to eat out anymore. At least once a month, maybe we can eat out, rather than we eat out every week. These are some of the lifestyles we have to do. No more drinking bubble tea. I'm sorry if there's the bubble tea business owner here, I'm very sorry, but that's some of the things that I can change my lifestyle. There's some things you can change, right? Yeah, I hope I answered the question. It's really about seeing where you can add value to the businesses and the companies that you are at, and how you can adjust your lifestyle. Maybe perhaps this is the time for you to do more for others, to do more for the company, so that you don't have to do something for yourself, so that you don't have to spend money. And this is the time also probably to relook and reflect, what are my gaps that I have right now? Look at the gaps. This is the right moment to reflect what's happening right now. Potentially in my own life, I'm reflecting as well, right? And if you reflect and you realize a lot of things, that's where the steps becomes clearer and easy. Because at the end of the day, we are fighting this with clarity. Find clarity about your strength. Look at your strength again, right? Work on your strength, right? Any advice for those who are unemployed right now? Well, try real estate. You can talk to me about real estate, but really go look for the job. Go find a job. Treat it as pitching yourself. Go out there and don't give up. Go out there and find, if you are interested to create value right now to someone's life and someone's business, likely someone is willing to take you in, but you just got to work hard to find it. You just got to work hard and find it. Don't sit down and not do anything. The first day I touched down from US, I remember it was January 1st. 6 o'clock that morning, I went out to the newsstand, I looked for a star paper, I started calling calls. I went for 10 to 15 interviews. In 1 week, I got a job. And it was in this job I met a friend who was doing real estate. That's how I got into real estate. Now, if I didn't get that job, I wouldn't have met a friend. I wouldn't be in real estate today. I won't be standing here talking to you. The goal is not to sit back, is to go out there and take action. Shift your mindset, change that perspective, go and take action. Someone asked, how do you recruit through social media? I need to understand, what do you mean? Are you talking about my business, Samantha? I'm not sure about that. Someone is asking, what's my view of current market of a property industry of both developers and buyers? Will be delayed. This is a problem with most developers right now. They have got to be very creative, and I'm afraid most of the time they need to take a loss right now. If they want to increase sales right now, they need to take a loss because there's so much inventory in the market. If you are a buyer out there in the real estate market right now, you are in for a treat. This is the right time to go into the market. I just told all my friends, I say, if you're looking to buy something right now, go in there, ask, I need a 40% discount. Are you ready to go? That's the opportunity that you have right now, right? Someone asked, cutting budget for, are you going to do exhibition or magazine advertising? For me, I'm not, because number one, exhibition in shopping mall, 51%, there was a research done by the Star the other day, that 51% of people do not buy things in shopping malls anymore in this season. And I suspect when MCO is open out 3 to 6 months down the road, social distancing is still going to be a policy. You will see a slowdown in shopping malls, right? So if you're doing exhibition in those areas and those places where people are socially distancing from you, it's not going to work. Keep that money, find a way to go prospecting and find a way to reach out your audience through different ways. And I suspect a lot of it are done virtually, I suspect, okay? You are right, employees need to have an entrepreneurial posture. Entrepreneurship is for everyone, it's just not for the owner. Samantha, you're asking for insurance. You go out there, you add value through training, education, and consultancy. I spend time coaching agents from other companies. There's an agent, I work with them 3 months. I didn't recruit her. I said, I'm not interested to recruit you right now, but you are here to help. I coach you. She's a high production agent. I spend time coaching them, showing model systems, training them, adding value first. Go to the marketplace. Don't ever say you're the best and number one in town. Say that you are here to add value and you are trying your best to bring the best content, the best quality to the marketplace. When you do that and your competitor is not doing that, there is a huge gap. Then they can see, how come we don't have this here? How come this is here? That's where you separate yourself. The only way for you to distinguish yourself from the rest or to be set apart is to do 2 things that create value. And how you create value, a lot of times there are a few things that you create. Number one, you do things that people are not willing to do. You do things that is effective. And you go the extra mile. And you give first. That's where the value is. So if I were you, Samantha, in recruiting insurance agents, that's what you need to do right now. The world has stopped. A lot of times, all this recruitment thing, that they put in a lot of emphasis on, what do you call that, incentives. Go traveling, buy BMW and all that, right? Guess what? Who's going traveling the next 6 months? No one. It's not going to work. So you've got to go there with proven system and model and steps and training and education to bring that person out from wherever he is right now to wherever he wants to go. I suspect coaching and training is going to be the way to go if you are talking about those kind of recruitment, right? What is the view of bank giving housing loan to buy property? No, I think the instruction to the banks are to increase the liquidity. That's why interest rates are down. If they don't loan out their money right now, there is no liquidity in the market. So I don't see that happening right now at this point in time. In fact, some of the chatters that I get is potentially suspension or foreclosures in Malaysia for at least a year. Because that's the reason why we have a moratorium right now for 6 months. And if you have that moratorium, I encourage you to take it right now, because this is a benefit that you should take so that you can manage your cash flow, keep cash, and then work with that later. It's okay to pay the bank $5,000, $6,000 more interest at the end of the years. It's okay. Live with it, pay them a little bit more money, it's okay. But take a moratorium, keep cash in your hand. I don't see that happening right now. I don't see that until we are going to see a high foreclosure rate. I don't see that right now happening. Right. I suspect there's going to be a lot of merger and acquisition in the banking industry as well. For those who are unemployed, should they start finding a job right now or after MCO? There is no proper timing. If I were you, start now. You call up every company, are you hiring right now? Are you hiring? You. At the end of the day, right? This is the same for everyone, whether you are individual or whether you are a company or whatever. You need to survive through this. Go and look for a job right now. Go, don't wait. The goal is to be ahead of the job market, to be ahead, not behind. And to be ahead is to start now. Time already is your ahead. If you read this book by Simon Sinek called The Infinite Game, I don't know how many of you have read that book before, that we've got to shift our mindset and think that there is infinity in what we do, not finite. Our life is not finite, it's infinite, right? It carries on. Business cannot be finite. Business must be infinite. Those finite business are no longer existence right now. Kodak was a finite business. They didn't want to reinvent themselves, even though they reinvented the digital camera because they were afraid to take away their old business to go into the future, right? So being infinite. So by being infinite means you've got to go out there and be ahead. It is no longer who is the best, who is the strongest, who is the largest. It is about who is willing to go ahead and be daring to fail to introduce new things. Grab went ahead. Kill off all the taxi drivers. They went ahead. Were they number one when they started? No. Were they number one in the world? No. They went ahead to add value to the pain points of the people that are going through pain right now because of transportation. They went ahead. So that's how we should be thinking. So it's the same way of you looking for a job. It should be the same thing. There is no proper timing. Every time people always ask me, my agent always say, boss, what is the best time to call a client? I say, right now. Because as you're spending time talking to me, you're wasting these 10, 15 minutes calling someone potentially to buy something from you. Do it now. There's no best time for anything. Again, don't fight uncertainty with certainty. Fight with clarity. Right? Cool. Is there any more questions?
John, I think I will have the last question since it's about time, and I want to give you some time to answer this question because many of us, we are employees here. It could be within 10 years of working. And for most of us, we look at our bosses or our CEOs as up there, they are rich, this doesn't hit them. And I want you to share a little bit, how do you feel yourself when this crisis hits you? How does your CEO feel? How do you feel? How does your management feel? So that all of the rest, whether it's employees, juniors, they can understand what people like you are feeling and maybe a little bit of what their bosses are feeling.
Absolutely. That's a very good and interesting question. So in our company, there's no CEO. It stops at me and then it's the founder. So basically the whole situation and the whole condition of the company is at my shoulders right now. Now, your leaders are just human beings. They are not some Superman out there. They are not. They sometimes pretend to be, but they are not. Trust me, they are not. They bleed the same blood. They breathe the same air. And their hair grows long like me. Without a haircut, it's growing long. It's the same. So they're all human. They're all human beings. But what is different is that they hold more responsibility. They have more things to think about. They have more thoughts. And probably they're thinking about you right now. How can I keep all these people on my payroll? And if I cannot, how do I have conversations with them? What would they think? Leadership role, the higher you go, someone taught me once long time ago, the higher you go, the lonelier you are. That's the reality. Because there are certain things that you have to think about by yourself. And it's a very tough point. It's a very difficult position to be in right now. I expect, and I presume, I'm speaking from myself, having more pressure than my staff right now. But that's my role. Because I can see that, I can see the future, I can see the challenges that we have, they cannot see. So one of the things that helps me is that when I am very truthful and honest and open about the situation of the company with everyone. I practice that. Not all can do that. Not all is willing to do that. Not all know how to do that. That doesn't mean they don't want to do that. That you need to know. Everyone is struggling, and the bosses have the same struggle. They've got bills to pay as well. Just because they drive nicer cars, have bigger houses, doesn't mean they don't get pressure in paying the bills. Right? So that's the reality here. And if you ask me, at the end of the day, we all are pretty much the same, just with different responsibilities and roles. Right? Hope I answered your question.
Well, thank you, John. And I think I just want to wrap up today. I think John's message to us primarily is this: every one of us, we have that responsibility to take, be it in your family, be it in an organization. We are not sitting down, blaming the environment, blaming the government, blaming the situation, but all of us can take action on it. And I want to end really with a thought, and this is a verse in Psalms 9, and it says, "The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble." And this verse really hits me on two levels. Number one, whatever that I'm going through, I know that there is a stronghold for me. I know that there is a refuge for me. And my second thought to take back is really this. I myself can be part of being a stronghold for someone. I myself can be part in being a refuge for someone. And that is why, that is the heartbeat of why Every Nation is doing all these different initiatives, including this one that we have right here. And we hope that you will join us next week and the following weeks as we talk about this shift from different perspectives. Now, John gave us really an overview. For the next following weeks, we will really zoom in. Next week, David, the founder of Reapfield, he will talk about how he led his family, his organization through the past two financial crises in 87 and 97. And we want to invite you to be with us, invite your friends to come on board. And we also have this marketplace ecosystem set up so that we can try to match people looking for a job to people offering a job and matching the different resources that the market needs. So if you are a company, we want to encourage you, you can fill in your data in this ecosystem. If you're looking for a job, if you have someone you know that are looking for a job, please ask them to fill into this ecosystem. We will do our best to bridge them together. And for the final part, I want to ask every one of us here to send our thoughts, our prayers to those that are struggling financially, to those frontliners who are working tirelessly for the safety of everybody, and for those that who are infected, unfortunately. Let us just take a minute or two to send our thoughts and prayers to them, and then I will just close us in a time of prayer. So God, we thank you for this time that we really come together, we learn from each other, we feed off each other, and we remember those that are in much more in need than us. We remember those at the front lines, every day standing under the sun, in the hospital ward, working late nights. We remember those who are struggling financially, struggling to put food on the table. We remember those that are struggling with their life. They don't know whether they will get well. God, we pray that you will inspire every one of us to do our part to be that refuge and stronghold. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you everybody for coming. I hope that we will see you next week. And I just have one small request for us to make this conference more meaningful and better for every one of you. Could you spare me 1 or 2 minutes and fill in the feedback form in the link that will be sent in the chat box. Okay, hgmd.la/feedback. We need every one of your feedback so that we are able to improve on this and we can do it better for you next week. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.